guys, welcome back to Oshi Knits Outdoors. My name's Oceana, I exist questionably, and thank you for joining me in today's video. It is the second week, or the second portion of No WIP November. Today is currently the 8th. The last 2 days have kind of been very low energy days, so I haven't filmed a bunch or done a lot crafting wise. I literally just have been existing in my house, but we're working on getting back into the groove and getting some stuff done. It happens. It feels shitty or sucky when it does happen, but not every week and not every day is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I kind of decided that this evening, I'm just going to focus on my bouquet blanket to try and get this portion, the stem portion of it, complete. The rest of what I have to work on is literally this piece that I'm currently frogging. I know that I could probably frog it and then wind it into a ball, just like on my hand or something, but frankly it's just kind of easier to incrementally frog a little bit of it and work it into the current project. Hopefully I am able to finish this tonight. It's currently 6. Yes, it is dark outside. It's getting dark around 5, if not beforehand, which is not great for the seasonal feelings. But we take it as it is. You just gotta suck it up at some point. I think the only really way to change how bright or dark it is to move. And I don't necessarily want to do that more than I have to. So that is the plan for tonight, is going to be working on this blanket. Hopefully I can get it fully crocheted into this one. I have quite a few hours before I stop watching stuff. So I have some hockey on and I'm going to just watch that and work on the blanket. Yesterday I finished plying my blueberry fiber yarn, however you want to think of that. Finished plying it, so it's sitting on the bobbin. If I want to take a break or if I finish this, I will take that and wind it onto my nitty knotty to hank it up. I did take the opportunity today while I was moving around the house to wash 2 hanks or skeins of hand spun yarn that I had worked on for the Tour de Fleece this year, and so those are currently hanging to dry in my living room because I had space to do that there. So I'm sure you saw the process of starting to get that wrung out, and then hopefully I can transfer the blueberry fiber into a skein or like hank the skein up and then wash it, so that there's a local yarn store that's about an hour away that I might go to see if they could cake or wind it into a cake and hopefully get a more accurate length on them. My nitty knotty was built by me and a friend of mine, as well as my lazy Kate. So they're kind of just, they're usable, but they're not necessarily something that's like super accurate. We were in a yarn store in South Dakota over the summer, and I commented the fact that the nitty knotties that I've made were laser cut and I didn't have them in my possession at the time, and so we saw a PVC one and just decided that we could find the PVC pieces for it. pretty inexpensively, so we bought that, and then I just tried to measure it, which isn't super accurate, but kind of can only do so much at some point. So, yeah, we're gonna wind that off the bobbin so that hopefully I can get that washed and dried. And then, seeing as I want to work more with my hand spun stuff for a goal of next year, I'm really thinking that for Christmas or as part of a gift that I could possibly ask for a yarn measuring tool. I know that they have what is essentially something that you can, I feel like the best way to explain it is, I know that there's a tool that measures how much yarn goes through it, so you're able to put the yarn into the top of it, and then as you cake your yarn off of an umbrella or from a skein, that you're able to kind of measure, and it will give you a distance. So possibly looking at that. Otherwise, I'm just going to be doing a lot of counting and math, which is fine. I've done it before, but it's not always your favorite thing to do to try and keep track of. So there is that. That's a goal for tomorrow. I think it will really depend on how this blanket works up tonight to see what type of project or process I work on tomorrow. This morning I worked on my porcelain sweater and just started on some of the stockinette rows in the main color, because there's 16 between colorwork B and colorwork C. And I picked that up a little bit this afternoon to work on it as well, just to have worked on a knitting project and not to be focusing on crochet, because I do use different muscles and different motions. So if my wrist or something starts hurting, I might just do that. And then on the 6th, which was Thursday possibly, I spent most of the day fighting with my computer, trying to edit and to get some other information and different stuff downloaded, as well as responding to emails. So that was not a super fun day, but I worked on plying my yarn together, or started plying the yarn together, and then I actually picked up what is a continuous project for me, or like just a continuous idea that I work with, which is a plarn bag. So I take plastic bags and cut them into strips, and then I crochet bags of those bags, and then generally use them to store more plastic bags in. It's kind of my take on the Midwestern grouping of where you keep your plastic bags. Mine's in my pantry. I know some people have it beneath a kitchen sink and all that fun stuff. So you might see me work on that one a little bit, but that's just a continuous project that once I get really annoyed with how many plastic bags I have in an area, that I start working on again. So I picked that up Thursday night, and yesterday worked on plying the yarn and that for a little bit. So yeah. I realized that I didn't actually introduce any of my projects in episode 1, so maybe that will be this episode, maybe it'll be next episode, who knows. But I know this will stop filming after 20 minutes, because that's how my camera works. So I'm just going to turn my hockey game back on. I just had it muted for the last little bit, and we're going to watch some hockey, and we're going to work on this, and maybe I'll pull you in later tonight just to show you how it went. Ooh. So it is a hockey game or 3 hours later, just about. I was able to finish frogging the attempt into the current blanket. So that is completed. This is just the little bit that was left over when I finished the round that I was working on. Even though it's worked in a spiral, I didn't want to go super far past the beginning. And especially like this isn't going to make it a ton of stitches. It's not going to make it the whole round, whole way around. I'm not necessarily worried about counting this knot as part of a full skein because this is tiny compared to the ball that it comes as. So I'm going to count that I used 2 full skeins just because this isn't worth counting against, honestly. This is the size of the blanket when it's folded in half. So it is a decent sized blanket. When you open it up, this is technically the right side out. Today I did probably a little over 5 rows just so that to finish out what I was working on. Tomorrow or the next time that I work on the blanket, I think the idea of what I want to do is I would like to include leaves in this lower portion. As I'm doing that with the lighter green color, I think it's going to be important to work that down into the bottom. So far, this is a really nice size blanket. I think I like the look of when it's, instead of just like grabbing in the middle and pulling all the way up, I do think that the idea of rolling it into bouquet looks a little bit neater. I know that it makes it a little bit top rounded or rounded on the top, but I think that will help make it look like a fuller bouquet. But it definitely just comes down to how people are going to fold it. So take that as a win. It is currently 9 p.m. There's 2/3 of a hockey game left, which is another 2 hours. So I don't know if I'm going to work on my sweater or a different project. I definitely was taking breaks or different kind of like slower periods because my wrist was starting to hurt. I've always had a very clicky wrist. It's not super common that it hurts pretty bad, so I just like to keep an eye on it. But I am going to take a second to update my Ravelry and with where I'm at, and then I'll either work on something else or just kind of veg for the night. For entertainment reasons, I watch a lot of hockey. It's kind of an idea for a project coming next year. It'll be great. Today it is okay, so it is currently a day later. Last night I finished the body portion of my bouquet blanket. Really happy with the progress made on that. I mentioned that I might try and do something else, but another one of my goals during this time is to also 100% my slightly modded Stardew Valley save. So instead of working on a craft project, I went and did a few days of my Stardew Valley save just to try and knock some stuff out. I'm getting pretty close. Yeah, that's why I didn't do anything. Today has been a little bit of a wash just because it's been interesting. My afternoon, I had a little bit more energy during my afternoon, so I actually made homemade donuts, just donut holes. Absolutely fantastic. If you're craving something and you're not able to get it in your area and you're able to make it from scratch, you just feel so great to have accomplished it, and also like then you get what you were craving. So I will always advocate for people to do that. I've done it with orange chicken, with donuts, cinnamon rolls. I really enjoy it. But I spent probably 2 hours doing that, and then started watching some videos of some of the YouTubers that I watch because there's a new season of stuff that have come out, and that really was piquing my interest, but also just meant that I wasn't working on any other task. So we are going to unwind this bobbin onto my niddy noddy. I have unwound my handspun off of my bobbin. Didn't take too long, but obviously still quite a process. My niddy noddy is a little bit larger than I would like it to be, just because of the fact that, like, depending on how you use it, it is an arm and a shoulder workout. Perfectly fine. I definitely need it at some point, but after a while you just want to take a break. So because this is handspun and it's 100% wool, I went ahead and tied off all 4 sides with just some extra yarn. This is acrylic, so I know that it's not going to, or really hopefully will not bleed any color into the yarn, because I wouldn't want to mess it up. Most of the time I would just tie it off with my handspun, but I wasn't feeling like that today, and I knew that I had just some extra. I went ahead and did that on all 4 sides, because the more that you have it tied off, the easier it is to the easier it is to turn it from a skein into a cake. And it's not super important, but I would like for that to go smoothly. I just split mine into 3 and then wove the extra yarn in between and then tied it off on top. Sometimes I would put the yarn, like attach it into the PVC. I didn't do that this time. I didn't feel like it was necessary. You can obviously, I haven't connected any of these, so you can always just grab them and pull them out if that's how I wanted to remove it. But that is that. Fantastic. I can break it apart if I need to. And then I am going to go start the process of washing this. I did a little bit of counting and a little bit of math. And if my counting and if my math is correct, I have about 600 yards. Like 630 yards of yarn to use it. I didn't do wraps per inch. I'm going to do that after I wash it because I know that that might change depending on how the twist behaves after it's washed. Thankfully, I really like to let mine sit a little bit just so that the twist can even out. I always think that over twisting or over plying is more important than under plying. You can always remove twist or ply. You can't add any more in after you've spun it and then washed it, unless you re-spin it, which I'm not necessarily interested in doing. So I'd rather over apply it and then have it even out to the areas that are underplied, or just have to wait around for a little bit to make it usable. But I think this is working out really well. The colors are really gorgeous. My favorite little parts are the areas where you have the really dark of one color and the really light of another, or the really light of its own, so that you can see the barber pole where it's striping a lot. So we're gonna go get this washed and dried. Alrighty guys, so it is essentially the end of the week or the progress week that I've been filming. Today's actually the 11th. This week has definitely been a little bit more difficult for me personally. I am very reliant on the sun, and so having some cooler and less sunny days is definitely something that I have to adjust to, and it takes a while for me in the winter to get back into the level of doing things every day, which is one of the reasons that I started to try and do No WIP November, just to try and make progress on something every day so that I wasn't wallowing essentially. I have done that. I had a headache yesterday and wasn't feeling well a few days before, which is pretty normal for me, especially when we get into the fall in the beginning of November with the weather changing and daylight savings time being absolutely terrible. But it is what it is, and we make progress no matter what. So I thought I would show you the progress for the end of the week on some of the stuff that I've been working on, what I finished, and what the steps going forward from here are going to be. The first thing that I know that I didn't film, but I made quite a bit of progress on, is my porcelain sweater. While it might not look like a huge difference from the last time you saw it, I finished the main color stockinette portion between colorwork B and where colorwork C will be, so next week I'll be able to start on the next colorwork section, but I'm really glad that I got that finished for this week. I think it's very exciting seeing it come together, and I'm really excited to look at what colorwork C will add on, especially with how it looks with this pattern and the colors. The second one that I thought I'd give you an update on is my bouquet blanket. Obviously, I finished the base or the stem portion of it a few days ago, and I was able to sit outside a little bit today and work on the leaves that I have running down. I was able to finish one set of 5. This pattern has 10 different sections for the stems, and I just went ahead and went through them and kind of added them going down all the way to the middle. I know it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for it to roll up or to fall a certain way as a bouquet, but I think it really adds some dimension and some idea, some like just continuity between it. And then what I've decided that I was going to do is I'm doing these V sections, and then obviously there's going to be another row along what could be considered the hem of the leaves. I'm going to go back to the actual pattern and see what they say. I just kind of put together a little leaf that I enjoyed doing. I've decided to do one every 4 rows, so there's 3 rows in the section, and then I'm just doing my best to offset them so that they aren't that they don't all line up all the way around. So this one is on section like 1, and this one's on 2, and then I'll do one that starts on 3 and one that starts on 4 obviously, and then we'll repeat around. I've decided that while I'm okay with a leaf being right here really close to the edge, I don't want to put one really on the top because we have that other border that's going to be on it. And I'm just chain stitching 2 and then slip stitching it to where the gap is in this chain 1 gap. I know that that might look a little weird depending on which way it's facing, but it was the best way. I didn't want to be like knitting under. I like how it gives it that stripe look. And this is the color Frost Green in the Red Saver or Red Heart Super Saver, and I think the colors are going to be really, really helpful. It's not a white, but it is a light green. I'm really enjoying it. It's going to take probably a little bit to get all the way around, but that's another thing that I can work on this week before I figure out what color I'm doing the flowers and what type of flowers I'm doing. That'll probably be a next week idea, just so that I have some time to think about it. And then the last one, or the second to last one that I wanted to show off, or the last like knitting and crochet project that I wanted to show off, is my Nightfall shawl. I started a row and then didn't fully finish it, which is fine. I spent a few nights working on it. I know that it probably doesn't look a lot bigger since the last time I worked on it, but it is really coming together. The middle portion where we just have this crochet pattern definitely is a little bit finicky and takes a little bit more focus to do. I really do like the fact that the border is worked in with it. I know that I have quite a bit to go. I think the pattern calls for 75 centimeters vertically, and the last time I measured I was at about 25, and this one without currently stretching is at 30. So I've only added about 5 centimeters, but when you look at how much that adds, that is quite a bit of length. So I'm gonna call that progress. And then the last one I'll have to go grab, which is the yarn that I finished spinning, as well as I finished washing and setting the spin on. This week, hopefully, when I go into town, I'm able to take that to my local yarn shop for it to get measured and spun into cakes. I have a few plans for what I've spun, and hopefully I'll be able to work on those coming this winter, probably starting in December, or depending on how my projects go for the rest of the month. So let's grab that. Okay, so this week you've seen me work on my blueberry fiber, or fiber that I'm calling blueberry. This is the final skein of it, and I'm really loving how this worked up. It's definitely one of the larger skeins that I currently have. This one I know is 4 ounces, and it's over 500 yards of yarn. I'm going to wait until it's caked up to measure the wraps per inch, just because it's going to be easier to kind of pull it apart at that point to get an end to measure it with. But I'm really liking how this one's turned out. I think this is going to be really pretty. If you have any suggestions of what I knit with this, go ahead and drop them down in the comments, because I currently have no plans. The other yarn that you saw me wash was this. This is actually 25 or 20% bison fiber, and the other 75 or 80% is wool. It's this gorgeous, I would say tan or brown, kind of creamish color. I know it's gonna not have super great light, but it's called Tatanka. It's bought from, the fiber is bought from a small farm in South Dakota, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's a little bit rougher than normal wool, but hopefully it's gonna help hold in some heat. I have 2 skeins of it. I believe each of these are 2 ounces, and they were chain plied. So I think with this, I saw a pattern that I really want to try, which is the Boston Blizzard hood. At the moment, I'm currently blanking who made the pattern, but it's this gorgeous hood that also has a gaiter built in. I would love to make it out of this, but I need to check that I have enough, and part of that will be obviously measuring, but it is very lofty. It is very, it's not super soft. There's a little bit of it. I could definitely wash this with conditioner to soften it up a little bit, but I had spun this for the Tour de Fleece and then actually didn't get it blocked or the washed for the spin to set, and once it has, I just love how this has come out. I've done, I think, the measuring for the wraps per inch and for how the meterage of it, but I don't have it on me currently, so we'll just see how this one turns out. And then the last one that I'm going to get wound is this fiber. This is something that I spun over the summer once I got my electric eel. This fiber actually came for free with the purchase of it, and I just decided to go ahead and apply it. I hand dyed this, not super well with just dye that I had, and then I tried to sun dye it, and obviously didn't go as well as I would have liked, but it's been washed. I think I might wash it another time, but it'll be really interesting to see how this cakes up with how it was dyed, and we'll just see what type of, I don't know if, I think I've measured this one as well, but this is 4 ounces, so it probably will likely be another 500 plus yards. So I'll get this caked up, and I think this I also have no plans. So if you have any ideas or suggestions what I should make with it, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I don't have a name for this one, so if you also have a name for it, give me some ideas and maybe I'll name it. But we'll see how these end up measuring and how they end up knitting up. I don't want to try and knit them from skeins or hanks because that's an absolute pain. I know how to do it. I could do it with my Nitty Naughty. I don't want to, especially because I know a place that will cake it up for me, and I think that's how I'm going to store them. So thank you so much for joining me on today's or in this episode for the last week. I know that there's probably not a lot of progress that has come out of it, but it's been definitely a slower week for me. I've also spent some time playing Stardew Valley and cooking, and I need to spend some time cleaning, but tomorrow's a new day and there might be some changes coming to what I'm doing, so we'll just have to see how it ends up. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave it a like if you would like. Feel free to subscribe to the channel to join the craziness and just to kind of keep up with what type of progress we're making. Yeah, and comment if you enjoy what you're seeing or whatever you want. It's been super great having you. Okay, bye! Genuinely kind of funny that I sit down and then I check my fantasy hockey league instead of actually starting the video. I am a little obsessed. It's fine. It's fine. Alrighty.